Some of you may not know, but I recently wrote a book. It's called Your Bespoke AI Advantage, a business leader's guide to AI-driven efficiency without losing control, flexibility, or privacy. It's for business leaders, and I know most of you on this channel are software developers, but you may know business leaders who may benefit from understanding or getting strategic clarity on AI and how to apply it within their business to drive efficiency without losing control and privacy. So share that with them. If you want to get a copy, you can get a copy too. I will share a link somewhere around this video where you can download, buy a copy, download, go through it, or purchase a physical copy and tell others about it. AI is changing the way software gets built. There are three key areas I've seen this change happening. One is vibe coding. Another is AI-driven development. And the third one is the software development process itself is changing because of the prevalent use of AI in the process. Now, as a developer, you may have noticed one or two or all three of these changes. In this video, I just want to give a very high level discussion of these three areas and some key points in each and every one of them. But in subsequent videos, I'll talk about the software development process itself and how it's changing and how that affects the developer's role, which skills are becoming obsolete, and which skills developers need to pick up in order for them to stay relevant in the software development process. Personally, I don't think software development is going to go away, but it's certainly undergoing some changes. Now, the first change which AI has introduced with software development is vibe coding. Vibe coding has lowered the barrier to entry to software development. And this is something that is very popular, especially with non-technical people. They can spin up an AI model, an AI chatbot, give it instructions, and then in seconds, they have a full working piece of software with all the code written. So it has brought in way more people into the world of software development. And unfortunately, this is where all the hype happens and where all the discussions about developers becoming obsolete and being wiped away are taking place, because more and more people, especially people who had struggled to build software, hire developers, wait for a long period of time to get any piece of software built, are now able to just click a few buttons over the weekend or sometimes even just speak to the AI and get software built. So this has caused a lot of anxiety and pressure on developers because they don't know what the future holds. Now, there may be some truth to it. There are some things that are changing. So your traditional role as a software developer is changing, and a bit of it is being highlighted by this vibe coding that we're seeing all over the place. But personally for me, I feel vibe coding is mostly for non-trivial things. If you want to do anything serious, then you need to have some kind of trust, right? I don't want to say you need a developer, but if it's a business, if it's a group of people, these are humans, they need someone who they can trust around the software being built. With vibe coding, those layers of trust are just eroded, right? You just sit down there, speak to your LLM, tell it, give it instructions, what you want it to build, and then it just produces the software, hundreds of thousands of lines of code that it produces. But then the person or the developer, you can't even really trust that code because you don't understand the code. And if you don't understand the code, it makes it harder for the people who use that piece of software or the business to trust you and ultimately trust the solution being built. Remember, I've discussed this in my former videos. Software spends more time in maintenance than it is in development, right? So if you're building software and you don't understand it, you don't trust it, it becomes a problem for you later down the line. But I'm sure you may be arguing, if you vibe coded a software into existence, then why don't you just vibe code it and maintain it that way? Which may be something that may be happening now or maybe the future. But I still feel the human element needs to be there. The only difference is that that human element may not necessarily be a developer, or it may be a developer, but not in a traditional sense that we know it. Now, the second way in which AI is changing the software development process is through AI-driven development. With AI-driven development, here you have an experienced developer, whether it's entry-level or a mid-level developer or a senior developer, someone who is in the world of software development, taking the charge and giving instructions to AI to build pieces of software which they put together or they oversee, right? They supervise that process of development with agents and so on. This kind of development happens within the known software development tools that developers use, an IDE or some kind of console-based tool. You have your developer giving instructions, agents doing all the work, and the developer just supervises and sees what happens. Now, this wasn't happening before, but because of the introduction of AI, developers are being able to are now able to be more productive with this approach, right? They have the basic code written by these AI agents and they just look at it and supervise it. Now, there's a bigger change I feel that is happening, which you as a developer may or may not have noticed. And that is the software development process itself is changing. Now, even in the world of business, what AI is doing is it's speeding up parts of workflows and processes. Same thing applies to the AI development process. To the software development process. AI is speeding up all the aspects it gets involved in. And for software development, that's the actual writing of the code. AI is speeding that up and empowering even junior developers to write more code faster. Now, this creates or pushes more work down the line. So if in your process you have anything that has to do with code review, pull requests, and so on, senior developers are going to see more and more code being written in pull requests that are, maybe entry-level type of code or just based on the level of what the LLM is able to produce. Or in some cases, it's well-written code, but you're getting more and more of this code to review, which means the software coding aspect is happening faster and you're getting more and more pull requests to deal with. And in these pull requests, you may even be getting more code to go over, unless you have a strict process that stops or tells the LLMs or the agents how exactly to write your code in a very concise way. But I hope you get the point. So this is making reviewing code a bit more difficult, or you have more code or more work to do to review the code. And it continues all the way, up the process or down the process. We had DevOps, we had automated testing and so on. AI is enhancing all of these processes. So it's taking a shorter period of time to go from defining a feature to seeing it working in production. Now, over time, or what's happening right now is this particular aspect of writing the code and putting it into production is happening in a shorter period of time, right? It's happening faster and faster and faster. That means that as a developer, your role or emphasis on writing code is diminishing. AI is taking that up. And even though some people may argue that AI writes very bad code, it's only going to be the worst right now. It's going to get better as time goes on. What does that mean for the software development process? How is that changing the software development process? It means that there is more emphasis now on giving very clear specifications and the process of confirming that the software built meets these specifications, that the functionality is there. So as a developer, the more you can write better specifications for your agents to produce the exact code that you need to meet the requirements, and the better you can confirm that these requirements meet the original specifications, then the more valuable you are as a developer. If all you do is just write code, then that value is diminishing and you shouldn't spend your time doing that as a developer. Instead, it's about crafting better specifications and confirming that these specifications are met with the working piece of software, which ties into your ability to understand architecture even more. So the more you're able to understand business requirements, do the architecture, come up with the specifications that are very clear. And as we know with AI, the more context you give it, the better the output is going to be. So you get that done pretty quickly with your agents, produces software, and then you have a way of evaluating and checking that this software meets the requirements. That's where I see the role of the software developer evolving into. And in subsequent videos, I will go into a bit more detail on this. It's almost like you need to become a product manager, the role of a product manager. But I feel For developers, you even have the advantage of the software engineering experience you have. And if you're able to go into architecture or understand software architecture, you have more value there. And earlier I mentioned trust and how vibe coding erodes trust because you don't understand the code base. This is where developers come in. You're humans, and if you're able to understand your code base, especially when you do this specs first, AI driven development approach, then you understand your code base, you understand the business. So there's a layer of trust between you and your code base and a layer of trust between you and business. And you become a bridge, right? So if you're able to mind that process or build those skills, you remain valuable in the industry. Otherwise, if all you do is write code, AI is going to do it way better than you can. And that's how you just get, pushed out of the industry. So that's what this video was about. It wasn't going to be so long. I hope it's not even too long. I would do a bit more details on the software development process itself and narrow down on the skills developers need to pick up or based on what I have seen and other things I've read and researched on so that you're better informed and you start building those skills if you don't have them. The sooner you do that, the better for you. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to this channel. If you like the video, like it and share. Thank you for watching.